Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Comics Della Morte, episode 111, with a returning guest, Anthony Stokes, for Intrusive Thoughts, Volume 2, Issue 2.
How you doing?
I'm all right. If For anybody who hasn't watched the episode, I think we were in the 90s when you were on, but for people to get to know you a little bit, just talk about, your comic and where they could find you and how you fell in love with comics and writing in the first place.
Absolutely. So, I just love to write.
Hmm.
I've been writing for a long time, 15 plus years. You can find me at Twitter, on Twitter at Stokes the Writer. Um, and I fell in love with comics really through the medium of manga. I was probably a teenager and I started reading it religiously. I would literally read it all day. There were days I would go to the library and just have a stack of books like 15 high. I would just read through it.
Hmm.
And it was some great times, very informative. And then I fell in love with writing because I think I've always loved storytelling. I would
Yeah.
love listening to stories. When family members had stories, I would love those. And I just love fiction in general. I think the thing that really made me want to start taking it seriously, I probably like 14, 13. I saw Superbad
Hmm.
on the red box. I was a freshman I was going to my freshman year of high school, and I just thought it was so funny. I thought it was so like realistic, and everything felt so natural. And then I watched Inglorious Bastards probably around then or after then,
Yeah.
some point, and then I was like, wow, this is like completely different. Like this is like almost like a cartoon. And then that's when I was like, I want to do this for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, because in the beginning you wanted to. I mean, I think you still do some screenwriting. Don't you still do that, if I'm not mistaken?
It's been years. It's been a long time. I'm trying to think of some stuff and get back to it. But yeah, no. I mean, my passion was it's just writing in general. But like screenwriting was definitely something that I love and
Yeah.
still love.
I know, like I see more YouTubers, I mean, comic creators do it. I know one of our friends of the show, she does it. Have you ever thought about, like, when you do Kickstarters for your comic, try to show like a little mini movie that might relate to the comic? Just because more people are like more intrigued if they actually have like a little like backstory with live people sometimes, but that might not be part of your budget, your idea for ongoing.
I'm doing so many campaigns. It's hard to like really devote a lot of resources in just the promo at this
Yeah,
point. But I'm not ruling it out. It's possible.
yeah, because I mean, definitely your work speaks volumes, and you don't need a promo for it. At least I don't think, for the writing and the artwork. But sometimes promos are great and everything, and it helps sales. I mean, that's the way. That's how it was back in the day with like the whole VHS art. You didn't know what that movie was, but the VHS art just had a bunch of cool stuff, and you were intrigued to buy it as a kid.
Video games too. Big
Oh
big big
yeah,
back in the
video
day.
games especially.
Them early to NES days for sure.
Oh yeah, yep. Where I had to wait for Nintendo magazine to come out and play, because I know I'm a little, I know I'm quite not too much older than you, but I know I'm, I think we had a conversation. You were like in your early 20s, I think.
When what?
I don't know. That might be someone
When
else.
we had our
Yeah,
conversation?
yeah,
Oh, this was earlier this year, so
yeah.
I was 29.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, and I'm 38 now. So yeah, I got a couple years on, I got almost 10 years on you. So yeah, it's a big change.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, just with the intrusive thoughts, like go into more detail about like since the first volume to now, how big of a change it is. Because I know we left off where like you have this like creature attached to him, like progressing more through the story without giving like spoilers. Like how much would the gore or the scare factor has increased for the audience now?
I think it's more so. I mean, it's a little bit more present. It was very vague in the beginning. It's kind of
Yeah.
just shadowy stuff, and now like we're seeing fully like what is really going on. So I would say it's definitely increased.
Awesome. Which with the shadow stuff wasn't bad because, as I say all the time, even if it's not a comic and it's a movie, sometimes it's a lot better when you don't show the main threat, the creature, right away, and you wait for a bit to actually show what it looks like.
I agree. I agree 100%.
And with this, like we know that he's an artist and he has mental illness and stuff like that. But do you feel like you drew some inspiration from like people having? I think the character also has insomnia, right? If I'm not mistaken, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
no? Yeah,
No, he does. He does. He doesn't
yeah,
sleep great.
yeah. See, with the insomnia, have you like when you're trying to thinking back on how to design a creature? Like how much of like did you really sit down? It's like, okay, I want to capture something that people might relate to. I mean, of course, you didn't want to go with like the whole urban legend. Like most people who have insomnia, they witness like the man in the hat, but you went with like more of a creature. You
I
know,
haven't heard of the Man in the Hat, but
yeah, it's crazy. If you look up the man in the hat, it's like a black shadow with a man wearing a like a hat, almost like yeah. So yeah, it it's one of those things that a lot of people around the world has relate to that character. So with you with the insomnia and everything, did you like really sit down and like find a way to draw inspiration and have like key real moments on how someone would suffer like that, or you
yeah,
just started writing?
thing about sleep paralysis, it like kind of captured that, like you said, it's shadowy. I haven't
Hmm.
experienced it too many times. I think maybe once or twice. Yeah, so definitely for sure, you want to definitely want things that people relate to. A lot of people relate to depression, anxiety, loneliness, and stuff like
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, even even more now that it's becoming more well known, aware, especially with celebrities coming out about it, celebrities, dying from it. But even then, people still feel alone, even though it's becoming more aware of those that stuff. But
Yeah,
but
for sure.
again, but again, it's just such a great comic because even if you take the whole like horror aspect out of it with like the monster and everything, it's still a good read of someone suffering and trying to find a way to e- express themselves with an outlet, and he does that with his artwork.
Exactly. No, exactly. It's. I think a lot of people. I think the second issue might be better because you have more empathy for the character. After
Hmm.
having dealt with it for the first issue.
Yeah, because with the first issues, you're always trying to establish like where the character is, who the character, like their backstory and everything, unless you're writing a big novel. But most of the time, those like graphic novels, it's just two or three issues put together as just one big book.
Yeah, exactly.
And with this, did you have the same artist as before, or did you have to go with someone else?
Same artist.
Awesome, awesome. Now, with the comics as well, do you have like an actual ending point, like issue 3, issue 7, or like you don't really have a ending point right now?
No, I do. It's either going to be a 5 issue with a really big final issue, or five
Hmm.
and six or 6 issues.
Gotcha, gotcha. And for everyone out there who's going to be uh, watching the video and everything, or watching it live, what tiers do you have right now that you're trying to reach for your Kickstarter? Because you're almost completely funded, if I'm not mistaken, from what I've seen.
Yeah, we're about 200 off, and I'm hoping we can get to that
Yeah.
soon. Yeah, real soon. Obviously, sooner the better. So we definitely try to get funded, and there's a lot of great tiers. There's a
Hmm.
catch up tier for physical and digital. The digital catch up tier is like I think $30, which or $25 to $30, which is like 8 comic books. So I think it's a good deal.
Yeah.
And then there's like the Intrusive Thoughts catch up. If you wanted issues 1 and 2, it's really cool. So there's a lot of different stuff.
Awesome. Awesome. That's cool. Well, is there anything in particular that you want to talk about with like with this comic? You were saying that now you feel more emotion and more sympathy for the character. Like, was it easier for you to write the second one or more difficult because you had to like go into like the inner thoughts of how a person would actually feel with depression and all this?
I think the first one is always I think the second one is easier because you have the foundation from the first issue. And I think writing the first issue and kind of getting it on, I find once I get started, it's easier to keep going, and it's
Hmm.
harder to finish the thing, basically.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of those things like with the first issue, you want to keep on going, but you have to find that ending spot where it's like, okay, I can't keep this story going on for too long.
Yeah, I definitely try to write with endings in mind for sure.
Hmm.
I mean, because that I think that's what's going to make the most cohesive product.
Gotcha. Awesome. So, when with this, how much are you going to jump right into issue three, or are you going to be like having a little break? Because from this one to the first one, you got those out pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's been what is it? It's that came out in January. It's October now. So what is that? Like 10 months or 9 months?
Yeah.
It feels like an eternity ago. I mean, I can't even process the how weird it is. Like that feels so long ago.
Hmm.
But it'll probably be the same at the time from two to three.
Gotcha.
These books take a little bit more time, and for good reason. So it'll be good. I'm looking to finish it in 2025 though for sure.
Cool. So with the Kickstarter and everything, do you feel now with the second time doing it, it's a lot easier for you to like get focus on making sure that you're not adding too much tiers and too much stuff? Because sometimes when you add too much stuff in the beginning, it's like, oh, okay, does this person get a comic and a sticker and this? Did I send everything off to this person? Because sometimes it could be overwhelming when you have too many tiers to offer.
I keep it pretty simple. I just do comics almost
Yeah,
exclusively, like so it's not that hard to keep track of everything. Luckily.
yeah. And for anybody out there with you just go with Kickstarter, or do you ever think that you might go with Indiegogo?
I'm just sticking with Kickstarter for now. I mean, it's easier to just put everybody to one place. I don't really have a store either because
Yeah.
it's just so much money to like maintain and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's awesome. But yeah, really. But the thumbnail that I use, you did have like you do have a variant covers, right? From what I read.
Yeah, three covers, two variants. Oh no, three variants actually.
Gotcha. And how did you go about finding those artists? Were they like fans of the book, or you just found them online?
So all of these artists I'd worked with previously, I'd worked with Restivo multiple
Hmm.
times. I've had this is the this is the second cover. This is the third cover I gotten from him. Marco Leone, we're working on a different series, and then 24x4 is actually one of my close friends. So I this is a returning group essentially.
Gotcha. Very cool. Now, more with the intrusive with the comic. Do you feel that now the monster is going to be more of a key character in the comic because we only saw him as a shadow in the background? Like, do we actually see more of like how sinister and deadly this entity is?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's in the forefront issue two, and it's going to be a major part of it going forward. A major
Yeah,
character.
very cool, very cool. And when you were writing the character, did you have like the way your artist drew the character? Is that what the way you imagined it, or is it just like even better than what you imagined?
It's the artist's interpretation of what my idea was, and that's you'll
Hmm.
find it that oftentimes that's how it works out,
Yeah.
and I think it worked out this time.
Yeah, because I know sometimes when when writers go in there, they expect like certain characters to look other ways. But as I see it, if you're working with an artist, they're there to do their thing while you're there to do your writing. And sometimes the artist will come out with something better than you ever thought to imagine.
That happens a lot, man. That happens a
Yeah.
lot, and you gotta find that middle ground and work within their comfort zone. A lot of time, I agree.
hmm And with you going with your same artist, it's probably been a lot easier to communicate with him. And not just that, but you as the writer now know exactly what your artist's strengths are and his key points, where you could probably write out a scene that he would just throw out of the park because of his skills or her skills.
Exactly. No, you nailed it.
So I don't know what else you want to talk about your comic. Like, have you watched any good horror stuff lately?
Ooh, I seen Talk to Me. That was really good.
Yeah, yeah.
A24 movie. Oh boy, I rewatched the entire Saw franchise except the last one in Jigsaw because
hmm
the Saw the final chapter wasn't good. I remember that even as a kid.
Yeah,
Oh man, I mean, oh boy, that's a big one. That's a big one. I feel like I couldn't even possibly recall everything I watched, man. But
yeah,
I'm a big horror guy, so I'm
yeah.
on the lookout for more stuff. I think I'm gonna watch Trick or Treat soon, which I'm really excited about. I haven't seen that movie in years, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
adore that movie. Like
It's
so,
it's one of those movies that back then it didn't get as following as much as it does now. Even with me, like I'm a big Killer Clowns from Outer Space fan, but now just like with Trick or Treat, it's become like a big pop culture thing where you go to Spirit Halloween and they got like every type of killer clowns like pop figure, the popcorn gun, the little gun that sure like you could even get a life size like person stuck in cotton candy, and then everybody loves Sam from Trick or Treat. So yeah, it's really great to see like these iconic movies that did so good back then that gave us memories are now becoming such a big pop culture idea.
also I don't know if you would call this horror, and you probably wouldn't, but been watching a lot of not David Cronenberg. I forgot his son's name. Oh man, I'm blanking on his son's name, but his two movies I watched have been fantastic. Possessor was incredible, incredible movie,
Yeah.
and then Infinity Pool was also very good. I've seen that twice in like
hmm
probably 2-3 months. That was a fantastic movie.
Yeah. Have you been? I don't know if you got time, but have you been watching the Chucky TV show?
No, I've never been a big Chucky guy. I never.
Yeah.
I think I was like, it's this weird thing where I think I was too young
Yeah.
to get into it, and then once I
hmm
got older, I was like, yeah, this kind of I don't know. I Yeah, it's not definitely not my thing.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I guess my favorite. I had a real morbid kind of things I were into. Like my favorite horror franchises are probably Saw and then Final Destination. Probably my
Yeah.
favorite too.
hmm Yeah, the Chucky TV show, I think why I like this, I definitely will agree that the show is so much better than majority of the movies just because the creator of the movies, like the actual guy who came up with Chucky and everything, he writes and directs the whole series, and you get to actually see a backstory of like Charles Ray before he becomes the doll. So it's more character development and more seriousness than it's ever been throughout any of the movies, and I think that's why I like it so much.
Okay, yeah, I might check that out. I don't have cable, but I'll try to chase that
Oh
down.
yeah, you could easily just watch it on the sci-fi app on your
Okay.
phone or stuff like that.
Oh, I didn't know about that. Okay, cool, cool.
Yeah, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
just I'm I'm loving, like I don't know about you, but I'm loving how like it's starting to get into that thing where more horror movies are being made and released every year instead of like the typical one or two like it had for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I watched a lot of horror last year. Pearl probably this year actually. No, was X and Pearl this year?
Pearl. I think Pearl was this year because the pre the prequel was last year.
Is that true? I feel
I think
like.
so.
Can we check when? Hold on, let me check this. I
Yeah.
gotta see this. I gotta see. Hold on, I'll be right back. I gotta see X movie.
I know last year I watched Black
Okay,
Phone. I know last year I watched Black Phone and Smile. I really enjoyed Smile.
Smile was fantastic. That was a really good
Yes.
one.
Yeah.
Okay, Pearl was 2022.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. But but X came out before Pearl. Yeah.
X definitely came out before Pearl, but I
Yeah.
was like, that was throwing me off. So I mean, I have no sense of time these days. You know, everything feels like it's last month or 3 years ago. But no,
Mhm.
Pearl and X were that was a good movie. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I saw last year as
Yeah.
well.
And,
That wasn't a bad movie.
and the actress who did Pearl played as Pearl and in X, that was like one of her first movies, and she did such a great job.
She was in Infinity Pool too. I mean, she's Mia Goth is a phenomenal actress. I'm really enjoying her movies.
Yeah. And for you, like as a big horror fan and everything, like is it like it probably is exciting, just like it is for me to see like horror movies coming out where it's not just focus on the big scare and the big gore factor, but actually having a good story behind it. Like with X and Pearl, just the storyline there is just a great idea. Even with Smile, with the whole concept.
I think like that's the norm, and I remember the conversation. I had a conversation about somebody about elevated horror. I
Hmm.
don't like framing it like that, but I do think nowadays it is. You do more or less have a character drama that is interrupted by a horror movie, which
Yeah.
I love them. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I like I said, I love Saw.
Hmm.
And somebody was arguing with me that like these movies are not real horror movies. That people want to make character dramas and then make horror movies because character dramas are not as popular. But I remember like the mid 2000s, like some really bad movies. One Missed Call,
Yeah.
Prom Night, uh, oh my God, Black Christmas. These movies were
Well,
not good.
Well, Prom Night and Black Christmas, those are pretty much remakes because,
Those are remakes, yeah.
yeah, because Jamie Lee Curtis, she did the original Prom Nights, and with Black Christmas, technically, it was like one of the first horror slashers before it really became a genre with Michael Myers. And yeah, it just, I don't know, it's like you have people who want to diss that, but then I'm not saying that the concept of the clown is bad, but I mean, when you compare X or Pearl to Terrifier, it's totally two different like horror genres right there.
I think it's all valid, but I feel like kind of like the middle of the pack. I guess I want something that's like super campy and fun, like a
Yeah.
Saw or like I
Hmm.
guess a Terrifier, or I want something that's like kind of thought provoking. I feel like the stuff in the middle is kind of like, and like I said, I grew up on like we're past the 80s, we're past the 90s.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of CGI, and then I grew up also with the elevated horror, which I believe started with There Will Be Blood. I mean, it's not a horror
Hmm.
movie, but I think if you look at the language that movie created, I think it's very much like informed a lot of the elevated horror. But I also think like the Babadook and that kind of stuff came out and did a lot of heavy lifting as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, there definitely is one of those periods where like you have even just with genres of itself, like the whole like for a while everything was like, oh, we're just gonna make another paranormal activity, and then people got tired of that, and then I think they've completely ended it, or they're making another movie of the whole insidious storylines. But after a while, sometimes things get a little bit tiresome, and they don't want to see the same old thing again.
Yeah, you definitely get new stuff, and I got to be honest. I mean, the elevated horror again. I don't like the title, but those movies are very rarely like as repetitive as something like a Friday the 13th remake or what have you.
Yeah, yeah. Because I know with the first two, like with Terrifier, it just made such a big impact. Like people are like, okay, we have to see more of this of Art the Clown. Just this character is very made a big impact on us, just not with his look, but like how horrifying and with the body language it is. But you have to have a good storyline. You can't always just have the whole torture porn going on because people get tired of that.
Also, I want to watch Raw this weekend. I'm very excited to
Yeah,
watch that, and then I don't know if I can rewatch Titane again, man. That might be a one off. That might be it.
right.
That one was. I thought Raw was bad. That one is crazy.
Hmm.
That one is insane.
Now, you as a writer, when it comes to horror comics, do you feel that you would ever reach that point, or you're like, okay, I have a point that I don't want to write just because that's not my passion to write something that grotesque?
I don't find it that interesting, honestly.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like I think the Saw movies are interesting because of the moral element,
Yeah. Exactly.
and the dynamic. I like so if it was just that, I wouldn't find that interesting.
Hmm.
So it just wouldn't be something. I think when I want something to be gory, I want to have impact, and I think what you can also have a lot of times is it almost becomes white noise at a point,
Yeah.
and I think that's
Exactly.
where Raw and Titane, for instance, I think those can be gory movies, but I think like when it happens, it hits like you feel it, you really feel it, and that's something I'm cognizant of.
Yeah, and exactly because, like you said, it's with white noise. Like if you're gonna have like a shock value, have it be part of the story. Like just don't throw it in there because you just want to just get a scare or a gross factor out of someone. Like when it actually has a purpose, it's just even more impactful.
I agree. No, 100%.
And people don't expect it either.
Yeah, you want it to be shocking. I mean, I think I guess the moment that stands out the most to me is the Hereditary with the poll, and
Yeah,
you watch that movie and you're like, what in the hell? And then that's pretty much there. That movie is. I mean, I don't. I think Hereditary is a little bit overstated how good of a movie it is. I think Midsummer is better than me, just
oh,
about every way.
Midsummer, yeah.
But
Yeah,
Hereditary, like when it has gore, you feel it. You feel it every time.
yeah.
It's not gratuitous in the slightest. And then Midsummer probably my favorite horror movie the last, probably 15 years. And then I think Black Swan probably would have been like in the 2010s and the 2020s. I think definitely Midsummer.
Yeah, we definitely talked about Mids. I don't think we talked about Midsummer on my show. It was probably on a different channel, but yeah, Midsummer was definitely a big topic to talk about, just because it was one of those movies where it's not like a big like grotesque factor. It's just a big shock value. You
Yeah,
know,
great movie.
hmm most definitely. So with you said you were doing other projects and everything. Like, how many comics are you in development of working on, or like help working on it total right
Bro,
now?
I don't know, man. I can't even tell you. I'm looking at the, I'm looking at my wall of like titles, and it's over 10. I'm slated for like 12 plus releases next year, which is
Yeah,
exciting. I'll have like a lot of stuff coming out. Um, so yeah, no, it's gonna be fun.
because I know you haven't been doing anything with your YouTube channel lately. I'm like, oh, he's probably really busy.
Oh, we're making a lot of comics, man. It's
Yeah.
a blessing and a curse.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now with now into the comics and everything, do you feel that with Kickstarter and everything that it's, of course, it's not about the money, but like
Says
anybody
who?
new for anybody new out there, like how would you like recommend to determine like setting a budget where you're making your money to make the comics, but you're not like breaking even? Because some people, you know, they end up doing that because they don't know how to price it correctly.
I mean, the thing is, though, I don't think that you should do it based off breaking even. I think you should do it
Yeah.
based off of making another issue, because
Yeah.
you're always going to get, once you make a comic, you know, that can make you more money perpetually for the rest of your career. Like, every new IP could potentially feed you for the rest of your career. Like, I'm selling digitals of my first book, you know, digital copies, and that's helping me. So I think again, the ROI is definitely important, but I would say, like, what's the amount of money I need to make an issue 2, and I would set it at that.
Yeah. And I think that's a great idea because, you know, sure, like I said, I've had other people on here that I know that they made, like, I had one friend on the show, she had a pop figure for her comic character. One person had buttons and stuff. And that stuff is great. I mean, people are willing to spend money on a pop figure or pop vinyl character that you can't get anywhere else. But, you know, it's one of those things that, again, try to focus more on the story, because Kickstarters can be overwhelming, especially when you get the books and then you got to mail everything off. And, you know, even when you get the book, you have to like go through to make sure everything is done correctly. If not, then you have to ship it to get it fixed.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've had that issue really big yet.
Absolutely have.
With majority of the issues, or just with like a couple books?
Oh no, I mean, it's a couple. Like I said, I don't have that many rewards. It's more or less just comic books. Like,
yeah. Really. And who have you gone through printing with? Comic Wellspring or someone else?
Comics Wellspring, and that's pretty much it right now.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I don't know. We're in the 30 minutes. I don't know if you want to talk about anything else.
Man, I'm so tired from making comics, man. We can that'd be great, man. I'm exhausted.
No, not a problem. I try to think about some stuff to talk about, you know, because usually with a returning guest, we pretty much know about like the same old questions, like what was your favorite horror movie and stuff. But yeah, it was a good talk, and definitely have you on again, even if it's not for Intrusive Thoughts. If you need to come on to promote another book, just send me a text or a chat through Instagram.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Not a problem. Well, everybody, thank you for watching. If you are watching live or watch the aftermath, you know, his Kickstarter is still going. Go show some support and love, because it is a great story. And issue 2 and issue 1, it's such a great idea of taking like mental illness and stuff like that and finding a way to make it relatable, but give that scare factor with the monster as well. So good job with that.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, I hope you all have a good night. Peace.